"You're not a real man. You're just a walking ATM." My sister's husband laughed as he used my car. Everyone laughed with him. I let out a short laugh myself, nodded, and left without another word. 3 days later, he was screaming on the phone. As he drove my car, my sister's husband mocked, "You're not a real man, just a walking ATM." Later, I overheard my cousin admit Wyatt's deception. This morning, Wyatt was at my door, tears streaming down his face. I overheard my sister's husband talking about how he used my money to create a financial pyramid scheme behind my back. Everyone in the family knew and laughed at me. I confronted him, he denied everything. Then the scheme crashed and he was begging me for help. The phone buzzed again. Wyatt. I couldn't help but let out a bitter chuckle. The man who'd used me for years, never once offering a genuine apology, always pretending to be the victim. The truth? I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. And in the deep silence that followed the final betrayal, I realized sometimes cutting someone off is the only way to take back control. I remember the first time I met Wyatt. It was during Samantha's wedding, a day that should have been a joyous occasion, but there was something off about him from the start. He had that smile, the kind that was too smooth, like it was practiced in front of a mirror for years. And that laugh loud, confident, too confident. At first, I thought he was just another charming guy who had his act together. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to think he was the right man for my sister, that they'd build a life together, the kind of life that would make her happy. But as time passed, something began to gnaw at me. Wyatt had a way of weaving stories that were too perfect, too rehearsed. "I've got a new business venture," he'd say. "This one's going to be huge. Just wait and see." At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, who didn't have big dreams? Who didn't want to be successful? But as the years went on, I started noticing the cracks. It wasn't just the empty promises or the constant next big thing that always seemed to fizzle out. It was the subtle manipulation. Wyatt wasn't just asking for help, he was demanding it, convincing me that if I didn't help him, I was abandoning my family. The first time I co-signed for him, it felt like a small favor. "Don't worry, man. I'll pay you back in no time," he assured me. I trusted him. I trusted that it was just a one-time thing. But it wasn't, and it never would be. With every loan, every favor, every emergency that turned out to be a scam, I gave more of myself. It wasn't just money. It was my time, my peace, my trust. And every time I tried to back out, to say no, Samantha would tell me, "He's my husband, Ezra. You have to support him. You have to help him succeed." She didn't see it. She didn't see the manipulation. She saw him as a dreamer, a visionary. I saw him as a con artist. But every time I tried to point it out, every time I asked her to wake up, she'd shut me down. "You don't understand him like I do," she'd say. "You're just jealous of his ambition." I wasn't jealous. I was frustrated. Frustrated by how he bled us dry. Frustrated by how she just stood by him like he was some misunderstood genius. I was watching the slow destruction of my family, piece by piece, and no one seemed to care. And then came the Tesla incident. That was the turning point. That moment, watching him slide into the driver's seat of my car like he owned it, making that comment, laughing with my family, it wasn't just the car, it was everything. It was the years of favors, the endless compromises, the stolen dreams. All those years I'd tried to be the good guy, the one who kept giving, the one who tried to make things right, only to be laughed at. That was the moment it hit me. Wyatt didn't see me as family. I was just a source of cash. And Samantha? She was too blinded by her own guilt and loyalty to even notice. But what really stung, what really cut deep, was realizing that I had allowed this. I had kept believing in him. I had kept forgiving. I had kept giving. For so long I thought things would turn around. I thought he would change. But he never did. And in the end, the only thing I had to show for it was an empty bank account and a broken family. It was always the same. Every single time I thought we were family, I was reminded that I was wrong. The moments I tried to hold on to keep everything together, were never reciprocated. I had spent years trying to make my family proud, giving everything I had to make sure they didn't feel the sting of life's harsh realities. But every time I thought we were in this together, that we were united, they'd throw my success in my face, as though it were nothing. It wasn't about celebrating me. It was about what they could get from me. The last dinner at Mom's house, the one that broke me completely, was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be a celebration, a moment for me to share my success. I had just bought my Tesla, my first big purchase that wasn't for anyone else. It was something I had worked for, sacrificed for, something that was entirely mine. I had thought, maybe naively, that it would be a moment of pride. My family would see me as someone who had worked hard and achieved something great for himself. But the minute I walked into Mom's house, I could feel the tension in the air. Everyone was already there, gathered around the dinner table, smiling with that forced warmth. Wyatt was there too, of course. Always the first to arrive. Always the first to insert himself into the center of attention. It was never just family time with Wyatt. It was always a performance, and I had been his unwitting audience for years. The moment I pulled up to the driveway in my new car, I could already hear the jokes from inside. Wyatt's voice, always louder than anyone else's, cut through the air. "Ezra, look at you, man," Wyatt exclaimed from the front of the house, giving me that all-too-familiar grin. "This thing's a beauty. You know, I've been thinking about getting one myself. Mind if I take it for a spin? I've got to see what all the fuss is about." I stood there, frozen for a moment. The pride I had felt earlier when I first got in the car, the rush of accomplishment suddenly felt hollow. "Maybe another time, Wyatt, I just got it," I said, trying to brush it off, but my voice felt weak, unsure. Before I could say anything else, he was already inside, climbing into the driver's seat like it was his own car. Samantha, my sister, slipped into the passenger seat without a second thought. She didn't even glance back to see if I cared. I tried to ignore it, to act like everything was fine, but I couldn't. Something about the way they so casually took my achievement and turned it into a joke hit me harder than I was ready for. And then came the line I had been waiting for, the one that would push me over the edge. Wyatt, always so quick with his words, looked at Samantha with that same self-assured smirk, one that made me feel like I was nothing more than an accessory in his game. "Don't worry, Sam," Wyatt said, laughing loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ezra's not a real man anyway, just a walking ATM. He'll let me take it for a spin. He can't say no to us, right?" And the laughter came. Samantha laughed. My mom laughed. My cousins chuckled. The sound of their voices in unison felt like a slap across my face. My throat tightened. They weren't laughing with me, they were laughing at me. They weren't seeing me as a brother, a son, a person. They were seeing me as nothing more than an object, a tool for their convenience. And I realized in that moment this wasn't about the car. It wasn't even about the joke. It was about everything. It hit me all at once, the realization that everything I had done, every sacrifice, every hour I had worked to provide for them, was just a footnote in their minds. They didn't care about what I had accomplished. They didn't care about the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the life I had built. They didn't see me, not as family, not as a brother, just a walking wallet, someone who could be used. I stood there, trying to catch my breath, but the air felt thick, suffocating. The room was spinning, but I didn't move. I couldn't. I just watched them all, Wyatt behind the wheel, Samantha beside him, both of them talking like they were in their own little world. And everyone else? They were too busy laughing to even notice how much it hurt, how much they had taken from me. And then it was like a switch flipped. The anger bubbled up inside me, rising like a tide I couldn't hold back. I had worked my entire life for this moment, and it had meant nothing to them. Nothing at all. "Ezra, why don't you come inside?" Mom called from the door, as if nothing had happened, as if everything was still normal. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand there anymore, watching them treat me like that. I turned around and walked out, not in a rush, not with anger, but with a quiet resolve. I didn't need to be a part of their game anymore. I wasn't going to be used. I wasn't going to be their joke. And as I grabbed my coat and stepped out the door, I knew that this was the moment. The moment I realized I wasn't just done with the car. I was done with all of it. Done with the family who had never seen me for who I truly was. Done with the man I had allowed Wyatt to be. I was done being the one who held everything together, who sacrificed while they took. I wasn't the walking ATM anymore. I left without another word. My legs moved on autopilot as I grabbed my coat and walked toward the door. The world around me felt like it was in slow motion, but inside, everything was moving at full speed. I couldn't stand another second in that house, listening to their laughter, hearing them tear me down without even realizing it. I needed out. I needed space. I needed to breathe. As I stepped out the door, I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on me. But it was also like a strange, sick kind of relief. I wasn't just leaving a dinner. I was leaving behind the years of being someone's doormat. I was leaving behind the cycle of exploitation and manipulation. And no matter how hard it was going to be, I knew I couldn't go back. I had a feeling things weren't going to stay quiet for long, and sure enough, as soon as I got into my car, the first call came through. It was Samantha. "Ezra, what the hell is going on? Where are you? Why are you leaving like this?" she demanded. Her voice sounded like it was on the edge of panic, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Not anymore. "I'm done, Sam," I said, my voice cold, but it was steady. "I'm done pretending everything is okay. You and Wyatt, this whole damn family, have used me for too long. I've given everything I had, and you still treat me like a joke, so I'm done." She was silent for a moment, and I knew she was trying to process what I had just said. Then came the familiar defensive tone. "Ezra, you're overreacting. We were just having fun. Wyatt didn't mean anything by it. We're family. You're being too sensitive. Just come back inside. Let's talk about this." But I had already heard enough. I wasn't going back. Not this time. "I don't care anymore, Sam. This isn't about the joke. This is about the way you and Mom and Wyatt have used me like I'm some kind of resource. You think I don't notice? You think I don't see what's been happening all these years?" I paused, my fingers gripping the steering wheel so hard it hurt. "You all only see me when you need something, and I'm done. I'm done being your ATM. You can't just keep taking from me and expect me to keep giving." I hung up the phone before she could respond, not willing to hear any more of her excuses. The truth was, she didn't get it. None of them did. They'd always tried to convince me that I was the problem, that I was too sensitive, too stubborn. They had never once considered the idea that they were the ones who had crossed the line. The next few hours were a blur of action. I didn't let myself think. I couldn't. If I thought too much, I might change my mind, so I moved mechanically, one task at a time. I called the police, reporting my car as stolen. The Tesla me first big purchase, my first real achievement, was the last thing I had left that was truly mine, but even that had been taken from me. I couldn't let Wyatt get away with it. I froze my credit cards. I contacted the bank. I sent emails to my lawyer. I wasn't going to wait for them to turn everything upside down again. They wanted to take from me? Fine. But they were going to know I wasn't going to let them get away with it this time. Each call, each email, each action felt like I was finally reclaiming something for myself. It wasn't just about the money. It wasn't just about the car or the loans or the property. It was about respect. The respect they had stolen from me for years, piece by piece. They had taken my dignity, my sense of self-worth, and I had let them do it because I thought I owed it to them. But now, I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for my own sense of identity. I was fighting for the man I had been all along, buried under years of self-doubt and guilt. By the time I laid my head down to sleep that night, I didn't feel the weight of the betrayal. I didn't feel the usual sense of guilt or confusion. I felt something else, something more powerful. I felt clarity. For the first time in years, I knew exactly who I was. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I wasn't the one they could lean on, drain, and forget about when they were done. I was done. The next morning came too quickly. The phone started buzzing almost immediately. Wyatt's number lit up the screen. He had left a voicemail. I didn't need to listen to it. I already knew what he would say. Some half-assed apology, a few threats, a promise to make it right. I wasn't interested in hearing any of it. He had crossed the line, and I wasn't going to play along anymore. Instead, I focused on the things that mattered. I checked my bank accounts, my credit cards, and my emails. Everything was frozen. Everything was in place. I knew that this was just the beginning. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be pretty, but it had to be done. And then came another message, this time from my mom. It was short and to the point. "Ezra, you've gone too far. Come back and talk to us. We're family." Family. The word stung now. It used to mean something, but now it was just a word. It didn't mean what it used to. My family didn't see me as a person anymore. They saw me as an asset, a means to an end, and they'd never truly seen me. Not for who I was, not for what I had done for them. They didn't care about the sacrifices. They didn't care about how hard I had worked to keep us all afloat. They didn't care about anything but what I could give. I didn't respond. Instead, I went about my day. I didn't let myself be consumed by the constant buzzing of my phone. I focused on the one thing that mattered: taking control. The decisions I had made were final. The respect I had been searching for all these years wasn't going to come from anyone but myself. I wasn't going to wait for them to give it to me. I was going to take it. The meeting with my lawyer was nothing short of eye-opening. I had braced myself for bad news, but nothing could have prepared me for the full weight of what I was about to hear. "Grace, My lawyer flipped through the documents slowly, like she was unraveling something too painful to bear. Each page was like a dagger, the reality sinking deeper into my chest with every number, every line of text. Ezra, she began, her voice steady but laced with concern. I'm going to lay it all out for you. You've been through a lot, but now we need to face the truth. I nodded, bracing myself. I knew it was going to be bad, but I wasn't prepared for how bad. Here we go, Grace continued, showing me the first document. These are the unauthorized charges, loans you didn't sign off on, and damages to your property that were never repaid. Altogether, it's $162,847. My eyes widened as I took in the numbers. $162,847. The amount was staggering, but the truth hit me harder than the financial loss. It wasn't just money that had been taken, it was my trust, my dignity, and my sense of security. Wyatt had used me, manipulated me into co-signing for loans and bills I hadn't agreed to. He'd used my name like it was his to borrow. But it didn't stop there. I stared at the papers, feeling the blood drain from my face. I knew he was bad, Grace, but this is insane. He took that much? She nodded grimly. It's worse than you think, Ezra. He wasn't just doing this to you. Grace paused, flipping to another set of documents. Wyatt has been running the same game on your cousins, your mother very one, and your family. They're all victims here, just like you. I felt like I'd been slapped. My mind raced as I processed what she was saying. What do you mean? My mom? My cousins? How could they not see this? Grace exhaled deeply, pushing her glasses up her nose. Wyatt's a manipulator, Ezra. He's been convincing your family to take out loans, co-sign for him, and back his business ventures. They didn't know it was a scam. He used your trust, and now he's been using everyone else's too. I stared at her, disbelief coursing through my veins. My mom, she co-signed? For him, after everything he's done to me? Grace nodded. Yes, and your cousins as well. Wyatt's been convincing them he's some sort of genius businessman, promising them returns they never saw. Meanwhile, he was using their money for his own schemes, taking out loans, and never repaying them. All this time, he's been living off everyone else's goodwill. I sank back in my chair, feeling like the walls were closing in around me. The betrayal wasn't just mine to bear, it was everyone's. Wyatt had systematically taken advantage of my entire family, using them just like he had used me, and I had been too blind to see it. But Grace, I said, my voice shaking now. How could I have been so stupid? Why didn't I see this sooner? You weren't stupid, Ezra, Grace said gently but firmly. Wyatt is a mastermind at manipulation. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew exactly how to keep you all under his thumb. The reason this worked on you and your family is because he made you all feel like you were doing the right thing, that you were helping him, believing in his dreams. But it was all a lie. I sat in stunned silence, the weight of it all crashing down on me. Everything I had worked so hard to protect, to maintain, had been built on lies, and I had been too trusting, too eager to help, too naive to see the web of deceit spinning around me. But there's more, Ezra, Grace said, interrupting my thoughts. She pulled a final sheet of paper from the stack and handed it to me. My eyes scanned the document, and I felt my heart skip a beat. This is where it gets even worse. We found fraudulent activity on your personal bank account. I looked up at her, unable to speak for a moment. Fraudulent activity? What do you mean? Wyatt accessed your bank account and opened credit cards in your name without your knowledge. He forged your signature and took out loans. He used your credit to fund his business ventures. You were completely unaware. I felt sick. This wasn't just about stealing money, it was about stealing my identity. My personal life had been invaded, and I had let it happen without knowing. This is beyond anything I imagined, I whispered, feeling a deep, sickening pit in my stomach. He really used me, didn't he? He used me for everything, for his own selfish gain. I was nothing to him, just a tool. Grace's voice softened, but there was a fire behind it. He manipulated you, Ezra, and now it's time to make him pay for it. We're not just talking about financial damages here. This is identity theft. Fraud. He's going to have to answer for everything he's done. To you and to your family. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. The feeling of betrayal was suffocating, but something else was starting to rise in me, something I hadn't felt in years. It was a sense of power, a feeling that I wasn't going to sit back and let Wyatt destroy everything I had left. I'm done letting him get away with this, I said, my voice shaking with a new determination. I've been his victim long enough, but not anymore. I want him to pay. I want him to feel everything he's done to me, to my family. Grace gave me a reassuring nod. And we're going to make sure he does, Ezra. I've already filed a fraud investigation with the authorities. This is bigger than just a lawsuit now. He's going down for this. We're going to get justice, and you're going to get everything back that he took from you. As I left the meeting with Grace, I felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't the kind of relief that came from knowing everything was going to be okay. No, it was different. It was the relief that came with reclaiming control. I wasn't going to let Wyatt have the last word anymore. He had taken enough from me. He had taken my money, my family's trust, and my peace of mind. But he wouldn't take my dignity. I had proof now. I had everything I needed to take him down, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. When I got home, I sat in silence for a while, staring at the papers in front of me. My mind raced with everything I'd learned, everything I was about to face. But one thing was clear, I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. I had Grace, and I had the truth. And the truth was the one thing Wyatt couldn't control. He might have been a mastermind, but I wasn't going to let him be the one who won this game. I was taking my life back, piece by piece. And this time, there was no turning back. The next few hours were a blur of action. I wasn't just dealing with Wyatt anymore. I was dealing with everything. The lies, the betrayals, the guilt they had piled onto me for so long. Each message, each phone call, felt like another layer of manipulation they were trying to pile on top of me. But I wasn't having it. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. And then, the bombshell. A message from Samantha. "You're ruining everything, Ezra. The bank is pulling our mortgage approval. This was our dream house, and you've destroyed it." My fingers hovered over my phone. I could feel the sting of her words, the anger beneath them. But then I thought about it. "You're right," I texted back. "Your husband's actions destroyed it, not mine." I felt a strange calm wash over me. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't the bad guy. They had made me believe that for so long, but now I saw it clearly. Wyatt wasn't just a thief. He was a liar, a manipulator, and I wasn't going to play his game anymore. It all culminated in a fight, a public confrontation I never imagined having. Wyatt stood across from me on the courthouse steps, dressed in his usual expensive suit, his expression dripping with that false charm I'd learned to despise. People hurried past us, sensing the tension in the air. "You're a joke, Wyatt," I finally spoke, voice low but sharp enough to cut through his pretense. Wyatt laughed, shaking his head dismissively. "Ezra, come on. Is this really necessary? You're making a fool of yourself. People are watching." "People are always watching you, Wyatt," I said, stepping forward. "That's how you like it, isn't it? Always the center of attention, always manipulating everyone. But you're finished." He shifted uneasily, eyes darting briefly around the gathering crowd. His voice tightened. "What are you talking about? Finished? Ezra, you've lost it. All these accusations, you know they won't stick. It's your word against mine." I moved closer, feeling a strength I hadn't felt in years. "Oh, it's not just my word, Wyatt. I have proof. Documents, recordings your whole scheme is about to collapse." His eyes narrowed dangerously, the mask finally slipping. "You're bluffing. You've got nothing." I smiled grimly. "Remember Mike, our cousin? He's already confessed. He gave you up, Wyatt. You're done." Wyatt paled visibly, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "Mike wouldn't dare." "Oh, he did," I replied, watching his confidence crumble. "He told us everything. How you roped him in, stole from Mom, manipulated Samantha. I even know about your second family." He froze, eyes wide with shock. How do you know about—" "It's over, Wyatt." My voice was firm, unwavering. "No more lies, no more games. You're finished." Wyatt lunged forward, his composure shattering. He grabbed my arm, desperation fueling his actions. "You don't know what you're doing, Ezra. You're going to destroy the family." I jerked my arm free, stepping back as security guards approached cautiously. "You already destroyed it, Wyatt. This isn't about justice anymore. It's about taking back what you stole from me, from all of us." He turned frantic now, eyes pleading. "Ezra, wait. We can fix this." "No," I interrupted sharply, feeling my voice rise. "You had your chance. I gave you countless opportunities, and every time you betrayed me, you stole from us, Wyatt. From me, from Mom. You took our trust, our love, and destroyed it all. It ends here." Wyatt's voice cracked, desperation overtaking his pride. "Please, Ezra." I'll pay it back. I'll do whatever it takes. I shook my head slowly, looking directly into his panicked eyes. It's too late. You can't pay back trust, Wyatt. You can't buy back loyalty. It's over. Wyatt sank onto the steps, the fight draining from him. For the first time, he looked defeated, truly broken. Moments later, the police arrived, pushing through the crowd. I watched as they took Wyatt into custody, reading him his rights. The crowd murmured, watching the drama unfold. Samantha rushed forward, tears streaming down her face, but even she was powerless now. Ezra, please, she cried, grabbing my sleeve desperately. Stop them, Wyatt's family. I gently removed her hand, looking into her eyes sadly. Wyatt's not family, Samantha. He never was. I turned away, leaving her standing stunned and lost amidst the chaos. As I walked down the steps, the burden of years lifted from my shoulders, replaced by a strange, liberating clarity. It was finally over. Wyatt's reign of manipulation had come crashing down, and I had reclaimed my life.